Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. Welcome back. If you're new to me, hey, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. I hope that's why you're here, because that's what's going to happen. If you're not new to me, thanks for always coming back and tuning in. I really appreciate all the support. And for those of you who are new to me, if you like what you see, thumbs up, subscribe, the whole 9 yards. I'd really appreciate the help. So today for you, I have my first book review coming back to BookTube. I haven't done a book review since I left BookTube in 2016, so this is kind of a momentous occasion, and I picked one hell of a book to do it on. As you can see from the title of this video, I'll be doing my book review on The Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I completed it this month, and I'm just gonna go right on the limb and say, I fucking love this book. To quote a character's book, fuck my face, I love this book so much. I cannot not talk about this book. I have been talking about it nonstop. My husband's tired of hearing about it. My friends at work are tired of hearing about it. Everyone's tired of hearing about it, so I'm gonna start bugging you guys because this book is awesome, and I am so excited and pumped to talk about it. And I was so happy about this book that I wanted to make sure this review was on point, it was good, it made sense, and so I actually outlined this review, and I watched a lot of reviews on this book just to make sure that I was hitting all the points as well, because I tend to, when I review books, speak really emotionally about them, and sometimes I will forget things or overlook things that are crucial to other people wanting to go and read this book. My excitement is one thing and my passion is one thing, but sometimes you actually have to give them the material to make them want to go read the book because, yeah, well, that's how it is. So in my research on this book, I did come across a channel, Mike's Book Reviews, and I will link his channel down below, and I really liked the way he reviewed this book along with a lot of his other reviews. I watched quite a few of his reviews. I loved his setup, his breakdown. I thought it hit all the points. It was well organized. It made sense. And so I will be mimicking his review style. So I wanted to make sure I gave him credit where credit was due. So Mike, if you ever get to see this, thank you for your creation of the way you do your book reviews. I really appreciate it, and I hope I do it justice. So without further ado, grab yourself a drink. We're going to be here a while, and we're going to talk some vampires. What do you think? I'm game, because I love vampires. So that actually brings me into a little bit of background about this book. First off, it is Empire of the Vampire, again, like I said, by Jay Kristoff. This is the first installment of a new high dark fantasy by Jay Kristoff, and this is his take on vampires. It clocks in at 734 pages, and every single page was amazing. Every single one of them. I didn't have a problem with any point in this book. Well, I mean, there were some issues, but there really weren't big issues with me. They weren't glaring at me saying, hey, you're gonna fucking hate this book because of this issue. No, there was none of that. I loved every single second of reading this book, the experience, the words, the characters, the setting, the storyline. Loved it all. Loved it. Which brings me to our first area of why did I even pick up this book in the first place? What about this book drew me in? So a little bit about me. Vampires are my favorite paranormal creature ever. I've always been obsessed with vampires ever since I was a little kid. I would see my sister read Anne Rice a lot and have her kind of tell me the stories because I wasn't old enough to read the books, but she would explain them to me. And when I got into reading Goosebumps, I always prefer the vampire stories. I always prefer those dark, creepy, cryptic tales. And then I discovered Laurel K. Hamilton in high school and started reading those and become obsessed with those. And just, I've always been obsessed with vampires. They've always been my favorite. So that's why as soon as I saw Empire of the Vampire on Barnes & Noble's shelf, I was like, vampire? Empires? Empires of vampires? Fuck yes, I'm reading this. And I picked it up. Now, what got me to the cash register was when I read the synopsis. This book, in a very brief description, is following our main character of Gabriel Leon, who is a silver saint. And a silver saint is, well, they're kind of special. They have special abilities. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because I'm going to try to do this as spoiler-free as humanly possible. And essentially, it is an interview with him because he is the last silver saint on the planet, and he has to tell his story, and he tells one hell of a story. It's so good. So good. So that's what got me to cash register. Also, a big bonus point for this was a first book in a series. And usually when I come into series, I come in after the second book or third book drops. And so I've missed all of the excitement and the build up to that first book and just that moments. And I'm not missing any of it. I am on the ground floor because this was only published in 2021. So yes, I was super pumped about this. So that is what drew me to this book, and why I picked it up this month was it was part of a readathon. And this book represented Hades, undead creatures. So I thought it was a perfect fit for it. But that's what got me to read this book. Now, obviously, I like this book. I've already just blatantly told you I love this book and I love everything about it. It's a 5-star, all that stuff. But why? What about this book works? What about it is good? There are so many points. So let's get started. The first point is that it is heavy on the dialogue. It's an interview, and you are reading the interview back and forth. The banter between the interviewee and Gabriel, just, oh my God, that sarcasm, that wit, that zingers back and forth. It is pure gold. It is so effing good. I was hooked in this book within the first 15 pages, just based off of that banter alone. I loved it. And then it even went further into very heavy dialogue, because not only is it the dialogue between the interviewee and Gabriel, when Gabriel's telling his story, he is speaking as the other characters in the story. So you're seeing that dialogue and all of that progression. And I'm just like, oh, thank God, finally a story that's actually told by the characters. Don't get me wrong. I love world building. I love expansive world building. I love description. I love drama. I like to feel the cold. I like to see the steeples. I like to see the stained glass windows. I like to hear the crunch of the heels on the stones. I love all of that. But for me, stories are conveyed by the characters, and you have to talk. I like to talk. I like characters that talk. And that's one reason why I think this book worked, is because it is heavy on the dialogue. And when I was in high school writing creative writing stories, or in college, I always got knocked because there was so much dialogue and there wasn't enough description. And it's so nice to see a well-known, popular author do the exact same thing and do it well. I mean, he executed it perfectly. It was excellent. He did such a good job with when he used dialogue, when he didn't use dialogue, he was on point with it. Now, to carry on with the dialogue, the verbiage that he used, oh my God, some of the words and some of the phrasing that he did. There's one character in this book that I had to read some of his excerpts to my husband, and my husband, who is a prison guard, is just thinking to himself, like, I'm going to take that and I'm going to use it, because there are some stupid people that I work with, and this is going to be epic. I mean, just pure gold name calling and shit talking and trash talking. I was like, this is so cool. I love it. And he made me laugh. This character made me laugh so much because of just how snarky and mean he was. I mean, he was like a medieval house, and it was awesome. I was just, he was so on point and just bam, bam, bam with the zingers. And it was great. The verbiage and the word choices and when he used his word and the heavy dialogue, on point. Great, great choice for this book. The next item that I think really works with this book is how it's formatted and set up. In this story, as I've already said, it's an interview. Now, you have the interview story, the time frame around the interview, what's going on during the interview, and then the actual story that Gabriel is passing on. And the story that Gabriel's passing on, there's 2 of them. And he tells them simultaneously. So throughout the book, you're jumping from interview story to story A and story B. And he jumps back and forth among basically these timelines, because you have present day right now, and then you have kind of medium present, and then you got past. And that sounds really confusing, and you're probably thinking, Jackie, how is that going to help this book at all? It's because of the stories that he's telling you. These stories overlap and interlink, but you don't know why. And it's so well done because he gives a chunk of a story and then he goes to the interview and the interviewee even says, that's not how you tell a story. We don't jump back and forth. And Gabriel's like, hey, fuck you. It's my story. I'm gonna tell you how it is. And I love that. Because this book is not told from point A to point B. It is point A to point F to point C to point D to point E, then to point B. And that's how the story works. And it works really, really well for this. I don't think this book would have enough punch, enough drama, enough charisma if they would have told straightforward, like a normal, traditional, this is my biography, this is my story from A to Z. It's not. It jumps and it's choppy, but it works. It works really, really well. Another point that I think lends itself to the success of this book is the familiarity of the themes. Now, I caught the familiarity of the themes, but I didn't really see how they were beneficial until I listened to Mike's book review on this, and he actually explained it quite well. The themes that are being used in this book are so familiar that they feel new. And I know that sounds completely backwards, so I'm going to explain it. In the book, there is a lot of religion. But the religion is not our religion. It's not like Christianity or Judaism or any of the other religions out there, okay? But it is so parallel to them that because you understand, I'm Roman Catholic. So because I understand Roman Catholicism, I understand this religion because I see the direct parallels. So I understand why the pieces work together and why they're doing the things that they're doing without them having to actually be broken down and told to me why they do the things that they do, because I understand the basic concept of the inspiration that he got this from. So that's when I say the familiar themes. But they feel new the way he uses them because it doesn't feel like he's literally just ripping it off. At least to me, it didn't feel that way. It felt very like he was paying homage to it, for lack of a better word. Now, the story development. This goes back to that formatting. So you have your three stories, right? Story A, story B, story C. Now, the way these stories develop, they're not developing like a normal story. Like I said, they're not point A to point B. They're all kind of like this, and then like this, and then like this, and then we're doing the Macarena and the Vogue. Vogue, get out. We're doing that, okay, with this book and these storylines. But the times he cuts the story and then goes to another one, there is a transition, and you do see the transition, so you're not completely caught off guard. But the point he left off on, you're just kind of like, what you doing, dude? Why'd you stop there? If Gabriel was really telling you the story, you would be like pissed off. Why are you stopping here? And it keeps you on the edge of your seat, wanting to read more, keep going. It keeps you engaged. It keeps you moving, keeps that page turning. And with a book that's 734 pages, you want that. You want an author who's going to write a story, is going to make you keep turning those pages and keep thinking, okay, you just stopped really apart. Let's see when you get back to it. And then they suck you into this other timeline. And then he stops and does the exact same thing to you. This book's a fucking tease. It is such a tease. If you're that people that like the buildup, and if you like foreplay and you really get into foreplay, like that's majority of your excitement is the foreplay and the buildup and the touching, the feeling and the exploring and the digging and the little nips here and the little gashes there and a little bit of ecstasy here, you're gonna fucking love this book. Swear to God, it is like the buildup of the best orgasm you ever had in your entire life. Because it's like, hey, I'm gonna work up here, and then I'm going to go down here, and then I'm going to go back up here. It's like the Friends episode when Monica was doing 7, 2, 3, 2, 1. It is like that the entire way through this book. Just saying. For all my Friends people out there, you know what I'm talking about. The story development in this book is on point. The way he develops it is exquisite. That's a nice word for it. Also, big, huge reason why this book works is its character usage. Jay Kristoff has this massive book. Of course, there's a lot of characters in it, but they all have a reason. Everything they do is a reason. They're not just there to fuck off and annoy you and piss you off. They all have a reason. Their deaths, if they die, have a reason. The gigantic ass body count in this book, and that might be a little bit of a spoiler for you, so I apologize, but there is a big body count in this. I mean, this book is bloody, it is gory, it is mean, it is angsty, it is sexy, it is a bunch of all those things, and all of these multiple characters affect all of those, and they all serve a purpose. If they die, it progresses the story. It's not just a shock value death. These massive body counts that he has are not just the author saying, hey, I'm going to kill off your favorite character because I can. We all know authors that do that. And we love and hate them for it. But this isn't one of them. This isn't one of them. It's one of those that you're just like, it progresses the story along. It progresses Gabriel's character along, bringing him to where he is now. And it's done so fucking good. Oh my God. There are so many character arcs in this. Every character has an arc, from good to bad to indifferent to I don't give a fuck or you're fucking useless to you are the most important person in the story right now. Why are we not talking about you? You know, he utilizes his characters so well. Their strengths, their weaknesses, their dialogue, their conversations, everything revolves and it all works perfectly together. It is a nice oiled machine, this book is. And the last point that really works in this book is Jay Kristoff's resolutions. The times he gives you those resolutions, they are the perfect time to give them. You have just been teased and brought to that brink of exploding, and then finally you get that release with that resolution, and God, is it exquisite. It is great. It's fantastic. He doesn't give you resolutions just to answer questions. He gives them to you because you have earned that resolution. You have earned that answer. You have trudged through and you have climbed that hill and you have earned that sweet ass fucking ending that you get when you get them. And God, is it feel so amazing when you finally figure out what's going on and you're just like, I need a cigarette because that was fucking awesome. That's everything that worked, at least in my eyes. But I can see where some people would see things that don't work in this book. So we're going to talk about those because I don't want to be impartial. I love this book, but I do want to point out that there are things that some people might have problems with. So if you're planning on reading this, these are some things that, just a heads up, I feel might cause issues. When I talked about familiar themes, the themes that he uses, they are so parallel that if you don't see the homage and the inspiration, it could clearly look like you are directly ripping off people, such as Anne Rice, such as Dan Brown, Laurel K. Hamilton, a lot of Bram Stoker, a lot of classic authors. You could see him directly ripping them off. I mean, a clear example is The Interview. This is an interview with Gabriel. It is directly correlating to Interview with the Vampire. But where I see inspiration, some might see you literally ripped off this concept and called it your own. So I love this, but I can see where people are going to disagree with this. So that's where I see this book not working for some people because they just can't get past that aspect, and that's okay. So when I first saw this book on the shelf, I thought this cover was gorgeous. I was like, this is the cool ass cover. I think this looks awesome. And then I discovered the UK editions of this cover. And now I'm thinking US got fucked. And not in a good way. This cover is shit compared to the UK covers. So this cover could definitely turn a lot of people away because of the half-clad vampire, because vampires have gotten a bad rep lately. YA kind of took them and turned them these emo crybabies. And this book is not an emo vampire. This is a pissed off, angry, mean son of a bitch. That's what this book's about. And so if you're used to dealing with the YA vampires where they're like, oh, I'm a monster, but I love you, and oh, poor me, my life is awful. Well, yeah, you are a fucking monster. You suck blood for a living. Like, come on. Did you think you were supposed to be a nice guy? No. Vampires are mean. Vampires are angry. Vampires live forever. Vampires are fucking cool. Let them be angry, sarcastic assholes. Like, come on. So this book, I think, conveys that, but the other covers are far, far better. So I could see somebody being very deterred from this book just based off of this cover. The last thing that I could definitely see not working for people is the grammar in this book. Now, the reason I say this is because I've said this a bunch of times already, and I know this is an interview. It is an interview. So writing an interview, you have the quotations and all that other grammar stuff of both parties. But the difference with this interview is that Gabriel is speaking, when he's telling the stories, is speaking as the other character. So you see their sets of quotations. So in a lot of parts of books, you're seeing double quotations, and it kind of throws you for a little bit. It threw me for a little bit. It would kind of annoy me, and I was like, is that grammatically correct? Like, is that how you do it? I had to look it up just to make sure it was right, because I'm like, I feel like that's a typo, but it's not. It's right. So I could see some people being a little offset by that, but that's one of those things can easily overcome if you just get over it. But it might kind of go like, what the hell's going on with this? I don't get this. I don't like this. It's a little bit, it makes the reading experience just a little bit different than reading just a normal story. All right, highlights. The highlights from this book, if this is all you take from this, here you go. Specific verbiage. Like I said earlier, the words J. Kristoff decides to use in this book are just pure comedic gold. They're just gold. And there are so many catchphrases. My favorite is fuck my face. Like, we say fuck my life, but Gabriel says fuck my face. And the times he says it is just, oh God, it's so great. It's so great. It's just perfect timing, good word choice. Some of the words are very, very inappropriate. They are not appropriate, and you might have to use the Urban Dictionary to find out what they actually mean, like I did. But when you find out it's the right word, that it was the correct usage of that word, and it was the right word choice for that moment. Just saying. So that is a huge highlight for this book. It made me giggle a whole bunch. It's great. Highlight, heavy dialogue. That's a thing that I really enjoy. I like the story being told by the characters. The story is conveyed through the characters' dialogue. It's not, I mean, the scenes and the world building is fantastic. And so J. Kristoff does an excellent job of building this world. You can see it. You can feel it. You can even hear it at some points. But the dialogue is what carries this, and it's fantastic. This book offers more questions for future installments. Yes, you get these epic resolutions, but every resolution, it gives you more questions, but it's not the annoying, hey, you didn't answer all my questions, I'm sitting here hanging, I feel like you've just dumped me and left me with nothing. The resolutions are enough that you are satiated and you are okay and you can go through your daily life, but still in the back of your mind, you're like, I want to do that again. Can we do this again? That'd be awesome. I would love to do this again, but I don't need it. It's not so much of a craving and a desire that it's completely overtaking your world with the amount of questions he leaves open and the amount of questions he creates with his resolutions. So I really like the ones he chose to give and how he gave them. This book brought the vampire back. This put the angry, mean, snarky vampires back on the map, and I am so fucking happy about that. They don't sparkle. They're fucking mean. They're ancient. They suck blood. They like young girls and they have no inhibitions against it. I mean, there is a character in here who solely likes virgins. And I watched an interview with Jay Kristoff who simply said, he's like, hey, these guys have been alive for thousands of years and they're into like a 30-year-old that's still like a child compared to them. It's kind of pedophilia. He points it out. He points out all these dumb ass tropes that vampires have, but he uses them well. And it's so fucking good. He does such a good job with it. It's great. It's so awesome. And that character I'm talking about, he's fucking cool as shit. Oh, he's awesome. Please read this book and tell me what you think of that character because, oh, when you see him, you will know. It's that obvious and that epic. The artwork in this book, this is the illustrated version. So the artwork in this book is exquisite. I can't show you all of the artwork because the artwork does convey spoilers, but I can show you the cover, the inner pages. Now, the actual text is black and white, but these are the colored versions of some of these. This is our male protagonist, Gabriel Delone, and then this is his interviewing buddy over here. I'm not going to give you his name because it kind of gives away some spoilers. But this is your main character. Isn't he stunning? Isn't it? Yes. The stained glass work on these artist renditions are just phenomenal. Also, I will admit there is some nudity in some of the artwork, so just a heads up. I just want to pre-warn you that is kind of a spoiler, but there is nudity on the artwork. Let's see. This one is kind of a nice black and white one. It doesn't really have spoilers. But look at the detail on this. It's just exquisite. It is awesome. And the artwork was done, I don't know if it says it here. I know it does, but I cannot find his name. I cannot remember his name. Who did the artwork. So I will make sure I put the artist's name down in the down box below who did the artwork for the book. I apologize that I can't say it now because I don't remember what his name is. But the artwork, helps make the book. It does. It really just, it gives you that all-encompassing experience and it's fantastic. I love it. And the last thing that is awesome about this book is the introspection that Jay Kristoff gives some of these characters. I'm going to read you one of the quotes from this book that kind of just gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. This is Gabriel Delone talking. Very pretty vampire, but truth is a sharp knife. Truth is most men write songs so they can hear themselves sing. And the rest sing not for the song, but for the applause at the end. You know what most men don't do enough? Tell me, Silver Saint. They don't shut the fuck up. They don't just sit and listen. It's in silence we know ourselves, vampire. It's in stillness we hear the questions that truly matter, scratching like baby birds in the eggshells of our eyes. Who am I? What do I want? What have I become? Truth is, the questions you hear in the quiet are always the most terrifying, but most people never take the time to listen to the answers. They dance and they sing and they fight and they fuck and they drown, filling their guts with piss and their lungs with smoke and their heads with shit, so they never have to learn the truth of who the fuck they are. You put a man in a room for 100 years with 1,000 books, he'll know 1,000,000 truths. Put him in a room for a year in silence and he'll know himself. I love this quote, but there are so many passages like this that literally make you stop and think, this is a fictional book, but yet it is making me think things that I haven't thought in a long time, making me feel things. There's another point where he's talking about pride, and I don't have the exact quote, but I'll paraphrase. He says, yeah, why shouldn't I be proud? I'm not good at this and I work my fucking ass off. I should be fucking proud that I'm good at it. I'm not gonna fucking deny it. I'm good at this shit. And I love that because people always say that, pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. Why? Like, I had to work my ass off to do something. I should be proud of my work. And he points things out, common sense things like that everyday people think. And he points it out. And so there's a lot of personal introspection in this, not just through the characters, but through yourself when you're reading this book. And I really, really enjoyed that concept of this book. I mean, it was a big highlight for me. So, in conclusion, this book obviously is a 5-star. I have praised it, and I'm going to keep praising it because I freaking love this book. This is by far the best book I have read all this year that's not a reread. And I cannot wait for the second one. It has not been, a second one has been declared that there will be a second one, but he has not announced when it will be coming out. And I am on pins and needles waiting for it because this book was just a taste. It was just a taste. And at the very end of the book, Gabriel, he's not just talking to the interviewee at the time. He's talking to you as the reader and saying, you know what? You're going to have to wait. You're just going to have to wait. But I promise, you'll learn it. You'll learn every blood-drenched second of this story. And it is awesome. It is so well done. Jay Kristoff nailed this book. Nailed it. So if you have any inclination, any tingling, spidey senses that you want to read this, don't deny it. Go pick this thing up right now. You will not regret this book. It is 734, 34 pages. And every single page is fantastic. It's exquisite. It's extremely well written. It's the best book I read this year, and it's only March. So I think I've already topped this year. So that's my review of Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you will go pick it up. I really hope that you enjoy this. If you do read it, let me know in the down bar below. I would love to know your thoughts. If you agree, disagree, what have you. I would love to start a discussion about this book because this thing is just too good to not fucking talk about and to keep talking about it. And even though I've already made my review and I put it out there in the world, I'm still going to keep talking about this book because it's so fucking good. It's so good. I've never read Jay Kristoff before, and now I want to go read all of his backlist, but I'm afraid to because this was so perfect. And I don't want to ruin this. It's almost that good that you almost don't want to touch it because it's just perfect. So that's what I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoy and let me know what you think. If you like what you saw today, please thumbs up, subscribe. It really helps my channel out. I would really appreciate it. And for all those people that have continued following me, thanks for the continued support. And I will see you guys all soon. And have a good one. Bye, guys.